All right, more preterist deception from Jay Rogers over at Eschatology Matters. Preterist deception, the little horn of Daniel chapter 7. Let's take a look at what he has to say here. I'm at the 1 hour, 23-minute mark into this. A preterist view of Daniel 7. First of all, nobody should be looking for a preterist view of Daniel 7 or a futurist view. We should all, as Christians, be able to look at Daniel 7 and say, what is the actual teaching of Daniel 7? Not, oh, what is a preterist view? I'm going to take my preterism and put it on Daniel 7. That's not what we should be doing. Just go through Daniel 7 and read and logically deduce what Daniel 7 is talking about. But here's Jay Rogers. The little horn right here.
It symbolizes imperial Rome. I'm fairly certain of that. That's when I would say yes, definitely. I think it's definitely true. And I wouldn't be very dogmatic on the fact that I do believe this is 10 Roman Caesars from Julius, Augustus, Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, Nero, Galba, Otho, Vitellius, and Vespasian, who went.
So his assertion is that the 10 horns out of the fourth beast of Daniel chapter 7 symbolize 10 Roman Caesars. 10 Roman Caesars. By the way, preterists like to fixate on Matthew chapter 24, and then they'll go to Luke 21 to find the parallel of Matthew chapter 24. They'll never go to Luke 17, though. They'll never go to Luke 17. It's amazing to me. Luke 17, the parallel, is clearly not talking about the temple destruction. In Luke 17, right here, the coming of the kingdom verses, 20, Luke 17, 20 through 37. Okay? Notice the analogy. So again, don't let the preterists tell you that it's all about Matthew chapter 24 or something like that. That's why when these people start a series on Bible prophecy and they go to Matthew chapter 24, they immediately lose all credibility with me, and they should immediately lose all credibility with thinking Christians. Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel chapter 7. That's where you begin a study of Bible prophecy, not Matthew chapter 24. And not Luke 21, a parallel. But if you're going to go to Matthew chapter 24, at least touch on Luke 17. Just as it was in the days of Noah, so it will be the days in the Son of Man. They were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day when Noah entered the ark and the flood came and destroyed them all. But on the day when Lot, fire and sulfur, Lot went out and sulfur rained down from heaven and destroyed them all. Destroyed them all. So on that day, the Son of Man, this is talking about the second coming, not 70 AD. Not 70 AD. I will tell you, in the night there will be two in one bed. One will be taken and the other left. There will be two women in ground. One will be taken and the other left. Well, who are taken and who are left? They said, where, Lord? That is, where are they taken? Not where are they left. Where are the ones taken? Where are they taken to? The ones that are taken. Where, Lord? And he said, where the corpse is, there the vultures will gather. The great feast of the birds of the air. The great supper of God is what it is called in Revelation 19 verses 11 and following. The great supper of God for the fowl of the air, to feast upon all the dead bodies of all the wicked that are slain by the reaping angels at the second coming of Christ. So, but I'm digressing. So Daniel chapter 7. Daniel 7. So the whole thing is with the preterists, their hyper-fixation here on the Roman Empire and 70 AD in particular, the fourth beast, that's the Roman Empire. 10 horns, that's where he said 10 horns are going to symbolize 10 Roman emperors. No, the 10 horns are the 10 lesser tribal nations that made up the entirety of the Roman Empire at the time of its fall in the 5th century AD. Okay, so here's my paper on what rough beasts, Daniel chapter 7, what rough beasts, and the Antichrist, the little horn. 4 beasts, okay, you got the Babylonian, followed by the Medo-Persian, followed by the Grecian Empire and the conquest of Alexander the Great and Hellenization, very important for the writing of the New Testament, which is written during the time of the Roman Empire, but it wasn't written in Latin, it was written in Koine Greek. The New Testament, the entirety of it was written in Koine Greek. The Roman Empire doesn't come to an end until 476 AD. The preterists would agree. The preterists would agree, but they want to hyper-fixate on 70 AD for some reason and the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple, which Jesus does prophesy. There's no question about that. Jesus as prophet, right? Prophet, priest, and king, his threefold office. He's a threefold office holder. Prophet, Jesus prophetically speaking about the temple destruction that took place in 70 AD. That's partly what Jesus is talking about in Matthew 24, not entirely what Jesus is talking about in Matthew chapter 24. And in Luke 21, he reiterates the destruction of the temple and Jerusalem. So definitely Jesus a prophet. But going back to Daniel 7, we go all the way up to the Roman Empire and the fall of the Roman Empire. By the time of the fall of the Roman Empire, remember, the entire Roman Empire is at least nominally Christian. It is a Christian Roman Empire. Again, at least nominally so. The 10 horns symbolize the 10 tribal kingdoms that made up the Roman Empire after its fall. The Ostrogoths, Burgundians, Vandals, Heruli, Visigoths, Suevi, Alemanni, Franks, Saxons, and Lombards. 3 of these would be plucked up by the roots before the little horn could arise. Dr. John Gill's commentary, Reformed Baptist pastor for over 51 years in the same church, Charles Haddon Spurgeon would say to any of his congregation, if they ever had a question about a single biblical text, first consult Gill's commentary. So, Dr. John Gill's commentary on Daniel chapter 7, verse 24, talking about the 10 horns. Our 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise. And so the preterists say it's 10 Caesars in the Roman Empire. Gill says, no, they're 10 kingdoms. The 10 kings are symbolic of 10 kingdoms which sprung out of the Roman Empire, or into which it was broken and divided upon the dissolution of it about AD 476. And he gives Meade's list here, very similar to my own list. I think mine's the best list here, by the way. Just saying, I think this is the best list right here. It's not mine, it's other people's who have recognized this, and I'm just saying, yep, I agree with that. Okay, 3 of these would be plucked up. But Meade's is very similar list. The Vandals, Alamanes, Ostrogoths, Greeks, Britons, Saxons, Franks, Burgundians, Visigoths, etc. He gives, Dr. Gill provides Sir Isaac Newton's list. He's simply showing that, look, we're all in agreement. There may be differences in the details, but we're all in agreement that these 10 horns, which were those that sprung out of the fall of the Roman Empire, not 10 Caesars, okay? And then the 3, right, before which, so the 10 horns would arise, 3 would fall, and then this little horn would rise up, having a mouth speaking great things. And this horn made war with the saints and prevailed over them. All right, so the 3 were the Heruli, the Vandals, and the Ostrogoths, uprooted after the fall of the Roman Empire, after the 10 horns. 3 of them would be plucked up before the little horn, the Antichrist, would arise. Now, what is interesting, this is Daniel 7, back to the text, a little one before which 3 of the first horns were plucked up by the roots. This horn had a mouth speaking great things, eyes like the eyes of a man. There's a heavenly interlude here, verses 9 and 10, then back down to the earth. So we're going earth, we're going like earth, heaven, back and forth between earth and heavens. The 4 beasts are on the earth, and then we have a heavenly interlude, then back to the earth, then another heavenly interlude, and then back to the earth again. That's what we're doing all throughout the book of Revelation as well. Back and forth between heaven and earth, just bam, 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 like Jacob's ladder. Very much so. Bible prophecy is like Jacob's ladder. I look, and then because of the sound of the great words that the horn was speaking, and then back to a heavenly interlude, verses 13 and 14. As for me, Daniel, I had anxiety about this, right? Spirit was in me with anxious. Visions of my head alarmed me. This alarmed Daniel. This gave him anxiety. And then the Apostle Paul tells, is it Timothy or Titus, to take a little wine for your stomach, for your anxiety and things like that? Take a little wine. Just saying. Who did he tell? Did he tell Timothy or Titus? I think it was Timothy. Or was it Titus? Let me know in the comments down below. I have to look that up again. These 4 great beasts are 4 kings desired to know the truth. So these 4 great beasts are 4 kings. Well, 4 kings means 4 kingdoms, empires. The Babylonian, Medo-Persian, Grecian, Roman Empire. See, so kings and kingdoms are synonymous with each other in Bible prophecy. I desired to know the truth about the 4th beast. Despite my anxiety, despite my alarm, I still wanted to know the truth. about the 10 horns on his head, the other horn that came up before which 3 fell, that had a mouth that spoke great things, because this horn made war with the saints and prevailed over them. Notice, Daniel is seeing Christians at this point are the saints over whom this little horn is prevailing. That's amazing to me. Daniel saw all the saints of Christ during that time of the Antichrist are being persecuted. So notice, they shall be given into his hand. I'm going to skip down to verse 25. For a time, times, and half a time. What does that represent? 1260 days. Day equals year principle. 1260 literal years. So when we go to Revelation chapter 13, for example, Revelation 13 verses 1 through 10, we're going to have the sea beast. The sea beast is the same entity as the little horn of Daniel chapter 7. Notice, beast rising up out of the sea. In Daniel 7, it's called the little horn. Now it's a full-fledged beast that John is seeing here. The dragon, Satan, gave his power and his throne and great authority. Notice, does the Antichrist have a throne? Yep. Will he sit on that throne until the second coming? According to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 8, yes, he will. Until the second coming, he will sit on that throne, given to the Antichrist by Satan. Notice, mouth uttering haughty and blasphemous words, allowed to exercise authority, 42 months. A time, times, half a time. In Daniel 7, the little horn. Here, the sea beast, 42 months. 1260 literal years. It was allowed to make war on the saints and to conquer them. Daniel chapter 7, the little horn says, making war on the saints and prevailing over them. So again, go to Jonathan Edwards. What does Jonathan Edwards say? Hate speech is protected by the First Amendment to the Constitution. Absolutely. Let's go to Jonathan Edwards. What did Edwards say about 1260 years? This is why I'm in line with Edwards. All these preterists out there are abandoning Jonathan Edwards and John Gill and Matthew Henry and countless others of the Protestant Reformation and post-Reformation who wrote on these subjects. A History of the Work of Redemption, period 3, from Christ's resurrection to the end of the world, and part 4, to the Reformation. Gives a whole church history there. He did have a section on 70 AD as well. But notice what Jonathan Edwards says. It is certain that the time when the reign of Antichrist began, that 1260 days or years, which are so often in Scripture, not 3.5 literal years, not a literal 1260 days or a literal 42 months or a literal time times half a time. Day equals year principle. The 1260 days equals years. Did not begin before the year of Christ 479. That is, before the fall of the Roman Empire. They began after the fall of the Roman Empire. The Christian church corrupted itself. The papacy, the Antichrist, persecution for 1260 years before receiving a deadly wound at the end of the 18th century, which deadly wound which has been healing ever since. So I'm trying to make this short. I don't want to get too long and rambling on. But the preterists are absolutely incorrect. We are not looking at Roman Caesars. We are looking at what happens after the fall of the Roman Empire. Okay? Hippolytus and Tertullian both wrote, here, let me go here and let me open Hippolytus and Tertullian. There it is. Tertullian and Hippolytus against preterism and against futurism, really. Tertullian and Hippolytus, late 2nd, early 3rd centuries, on the future rise of the Antichrist only after the fall of the Roman Empire. They didn't know when it was going to fall. They just knew that when it did fall, the Antichrist was going to arise. Tertullian. Notice the dates. Father of Latin Christianity, volume 3 of the Ante-Nicene Fathers. He means of this present empire. That is to say, Antichrist. Let's see. The restrainer of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, the restrainer is the Roman state, the falling away of the Roman state by being scattered into 10 kingdoms. 10 horns of Daniel 7 shall introduce Antichrist upon its own ruins. Tertullian urges that Christians actually pray for the continuation of the Roman Empire, because when it is taken out of the way, the Antichrist will rise to power and persecute the bride of Christ. He said, there's a necessity for our offering prayer on behalf of the emperors, and nay, for the whole complete stability of the empire, and for Roman interests in general. For we know that a mighty shock impending over the whole earth, in fact, the very end of all things, threatening dreadful woes, is only retarded by the continued existence of the Roman Empire. That's Tertullian. Tertullian was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. He invented like 250 new Latin words because, as Dr. Calhoun, resting in peace, at Covenant Theological Seminary would say, apparently the Latin language was just not big enough for Tertullian. He was so funny. He was so dry and so funny. It was good. If he was dry and he was putting you to sleep, you're going to miss his little jokes that he throws in there. So make sure you don't fall asleep when listening to his lectures. In praying that their coming may be delayed, we are lending our aid to Rome's duration, Tertullian says, by praying for Rome. Hippolytus of Rome was brilliant as well. He's the one who said we have to compare Daniel 2 and Daniel 7 and read them side by side with one another. After the fall of the Roman Empire, the Antichrist would rise. The vision of Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel chapter 2, he says, and then he says, if we set Daniel's own visions of Daniel 7 side by side with Daniel chapter 2, we shall have one exposition to give of the two chapters together. And she'll be able to show how concordant with each other they are and how true. Okay, so he's going to go through the fourth beast and then this little horn with a mouth speaking great things. He said, who are these but the Romans? That is the fourth beast, the kingdom which is now established. After this, after the fall of the Roman Empire, what remains but the toes of the feet and the image? He knew he was in the two legs of iron, not the toes of and feet of the image yet, because that was the Roman Empire. After it fell, we would enter the time of the feet. And then the 10 horns after the fall of the Roman Empire. These things are in the future, beloved. Right? The legs of iron, who are the Romans, who hold the sovereignty at present moment. And then after this will be the 10 horns, the emblems of the kingdoms that are yet to arise, not emperors. And the little horn that grows up among them meant the Antichrist in their midst. All these things have come to pass. Already the iron rules, and how the little horn shall spring up. These shall be in the future, beloved. That is Hippolytus of Rome and Tertullian. So the preterists are absolutely in error here. These are the 10 horns of the fourth beast of Daniel 7 are not Roman emperors. Okay. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I had to include the Tertullian, Hippolytus. There's so much I could talk about. I could go on for at least over an hour talking about this stuff, but let me know. Jonathan Edwards, day equals year. We didn't get to John Gill, day equals year, or Adam Clark, day equals year, or Matthew Henry, or anybody else, but I think Jonathan Edwards, America's Calvin, he's pretty erudite fella, brother in Christ. So let me know what you think in the comments. Talk to you soon. Soli Deo Gloria.